This is case number 2012450 FH, People versus Deshaun Hughes. Mr. Hughes is appearing via Zoom from the Nuevo County Jail. His attorney, John Greer, is present in court. We're set for a pretrial conference today. The court has been advised that this is going to be a plea. Is that correct, Mr. Greer?
It is, Your Honor.
Is that correct, Mr. Hughes?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Would you raise your right hand, please, sir? Do you solemnly swear, oath, or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Correct.
All right, put your hand down. And Mr. Stay, would you put the plea agreement on the record, please?
Defendant will plead guilty as charged on the information. Guidelines are 0 to 9 months on the minimum. The people would cap at 6 months, and that is in exchange for truthful testimony against any and all co-defendants.
Correct.
Mr. Greer, has the prosecutor accurately stated the plea agreement in the case?
He has, Your Honor.
And Mr. Hughes, is that the agreement that you agreed to?
Yes.
All right, so the charge that you're entering a guilty plea to reads as follows. On or about March 9th, 2020, that you were in the city of Fremont, Nuevo County, state of Michigan, and that you did break and enter a store located at 1450 West Main Street in Fremont with the intent to commit the crime of larceny therein. This is contrary to MCL 750110. It's a felony which carries up to 10 years in prison. Do you understand the charge and the maximum penalty?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
All right. There's an agreement for incarceration. The agreement is that you'd be sentenced consistent with the advisory guidelines, which the prosecutor scored at 0 to 9 months. He may be right, he may be high, or he may be low, but as long as 6 months falls within the range of the guidelines, as he scored them at the time of sentencing, you have an agreement that you would serve no more than 6 months. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
You're likely to be placed on probation for 2 years. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
And finally, that this plea agreement is conditioned upon you providing truthful testimony about anybody else that was involved. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Is that your complete understanding of the plea agreement in this case?
Yes.
Have you had sufficient time to discuss your case with Mr. Greer?
Yes.
Then, subject to the plea agreement, how do you wish to plead to breaking and entering a building with intent?
Excuse me?
How do you wish to plead to these charges? Guilty, not guilty, stand mute, no contest? All right. Do you understand that if I accept your guilty plea, that you'd be giving up your right to have a trial of any kind?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you also understand that by entering this plea, that you'd be giving up certain constitutional rights that you would have at trial? We listed those rights for you on an advice of rights form. Did you go over that form with Mr. Greer?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you understand those rights?
Yes.
And did you give him permission to sign that for you?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Has anyone threatened you to get you to make this plea?
No, Your Honor.
Has anyone promised you an outcome different than what we've covered in court today?
No, Your Honor.
Are you entering this plea of your own free will and free choice?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that if I accept this plea, you're giving up the right to later claim that the plea was the result of promises, threats, or inducements that you don't tell me about today?
No, Your Honor.
Right. You don't understand that?
Yes, I do, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
All right. You do understand that? Okay.
Yes.
Do you also understand that you're giving up the right to appeal any appealable issues you would have if you went to trial and you were convicted?
Yes, Your Honor.
You also understand that you're giving up the right to appeal this conviction, and if you wish to file an appeal, it would be by application for leave to appeal in the Court of Appeals.
Yes, Your Honor.
To understand that if you're on probation or parole, a conviction in this case may subject you to additional penalties in that case.
Yes, Your Honor.
You understand that I'm not bound by this plea agreement, but if I don't go along with it, you can withdraw your plea.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you now give up your right to have a trial of any kind and all the constitutional rights that you would have at trial and affirm your guilty plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is it true then that back on March 9th, 2020, that you were in the city of Fremont, Nuevo County, state of Michigan?
Yes, Your Honor.
And it looks like you were living in Grand Rapids. How did you get up to Fremont?
We drove there.
Okay, who drove?
I don't remember the guy's name.
Whose car was it?
It was a Ford car. I don't remember where it was from. It was like from car lot or something.
You're saying it was a Florida car from a car lot?
No, it wasn't a Florida car. It was a car from a car lot.
Okay. Was the car stolen?
Yes, it was.
Okay. All right. So who else was with you?
Me, Tony, and I don't remember the other guy's name.
So there was 3 people all together?
4.
All right. So there's Tony, who you know. What's Tony's last name?
I don't remember his last name.
All right. And then there's 2 guys that you don't know their names at all?
Correct.
Well, how did you get into a car with 2 guys you don't know and a guy that you don't know his last name?
They're mutual friends of Tony's.
Okay, so Tony knew these guys.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so the 4 of you drive up to Fremont, and what did you do when you got to Fremont?
We broke in the phone store.
You broke into a phone store?
Yeah.
Okay, whose idea was it?
All of ours.
How did you get into the phone store?
I threw a brick into the window.
You threw the brick?
Correct.
Okay, did you then go inside?
Correct.
Did the other 3 go inside also?
Correct.
Did you take anything from there?
No.
No?
No.
Did you break in to go in and try and find some stuff to steal?
Yes.
Okay. Did anybody take anything out of the store?
I think like a Bluetooth speaker or 2, but that's it.
Right, who took that?
I don't remember.
All right, and did you do other break-in and enterings around Fremont when you were up here?
Midland. My
Midland?
place. Yeah.
Okay, you did something like this over in Midland? How did you end up getting caught?
We got caught the next day walking.
Okay, all right. Any other questions, Mr. Stay?
Could the court inquire as to whether the defendant knows Tony's full name?
He doesn't in the police.
All right, so you're sure you don't know Tony's name or a street name or a nickname or anything like that for him?
No, I just seen him around like at parks and stuff. I don't really know his last name.
All right. Are the attorneys aware of any promises, threats, or inducements which have not been stated on the record?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Is the defendant competent to enter this plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
He is, Your Honor.
Has the court complied with MCR 6.302?
You have, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, the court does accept the plea of defiant to be knowing, understanding, voluntary, and accurate, and agree to be bound by the terms, unless the pre-sentence investigation report reveals something I'm not aware of. I'm going to refer you to probation parole for preparation of the pre-sentence investigation report, and we will do your sentencing on November 9th at 3:35. And
Okay.
do you have charges pending in other counties?
Battle Creek.
Okay, all right. Well, our probation agent will send over a packet of information that we're going to need to do the pre-sentence investigation report. Fill that out completely the best you can, and then they'll make contact with you, okay?
Okay.
All right, that's all for today.
All right.
I'll be down to see you, Deshaun.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, thanks.
We have Mr. Sean King in the waiting room.
Yep.
You ready?
Yep. Move it.
Thanks. That's Christine's.
What's your name, sir? What's your name, sir?
Sean King.
All right, you're gonna have to speak up a little bit louder so I can hear you, all right?
Sean King.
That's better, thank you. This is case number 2012451, FH, People versus Sean King. Mr. King is appearing here by Zoom. His attorney, Mr. Greer, is present in court. We're here for a pretrial conference. The court has been advised that this is going to be a plea. Is that correct, Mr. Greer?
It is, Your Honor.
Is that correct, Mr. King?
Yes.
Would you raise your right hand, please, sir? You solemnly swear, oath, or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
And Mr. Stay, would you put the plea agreement on the record, please?
Defendant will enter a guilty plea as charged on the information. The guidelines call for a minimum between 0 and 9 months. People would cap at 6 months. And as far as the SORA notice, the people would point out that the victim in this case was a minor, so this would be a Tier 1 offense.
And Mr. Greer, has the prosecutor accurately stated the plea agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. King, is that the agreement that you agreed to?
Yes.
All right, so the offense that you're pleading guilty to reads as follows, that on or about July 27th, 2019, that you were in Everett Township, Nuevo County, State of Michigan, and that you committed the crime of capturing, distributing an image of an unclothed person, that you did photograph or otherwise capture or record the visual image of the undergarments worn by Sean Hesse under circumstances where that individual had a reasonable expectation of privacy. This is a Tier 1 offense under the Sex Offender Registration Act because the victim is a minor. This is a felony which carries up to 5 years in prison and/or $5,000 fine plus costs. Do you understand the charge and the maximum penalty?
Yes.
There's an agreement for jail time that you'd be sentenced consistent with the advisory guidelines. The prosecutor scored them at 0 to 9. You could be right, it could be higher, it could be low. But if 6 months falls within the guidelines, as I score them at the time of sentencing, you have an agreement that you would serve no more than 6 months in the county jail. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You're also likely to be placed on probation for up to 2 years. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Is that your complete understanding of the plea agreement in this case?
Yes.
Have you had sufficient time to consult with Mr. Greer about this charge and your plea agreement?
I talked to him Friday.
All right. Do you understand the charge? Do you understand your defense and you want to enter this plea, or do you need more time to think about it?
No, I do not. Like I
You
told
want
him,
to-
get it over with so I can, get started with my life again and get my daughter back.
All right. So then, subject to the plea agreement, how do you wish to plead?
Guilty.
Do you understand that if I accept your guilty plea, that you're giving up your right to have a trial of any kind?
Yes.
Do you also understand that you're giving up certain constitutional rights that you would have at trial? We listed those rights for you on an advice or right sheet that looks like you signed back on July 21st. Did you read that document?
Yes.
Did you understand those rights?
Yes.
Has anyone threatened you to get you to make this plea?
No.
Has anyone promised you an outcome different than what we've talked about in court today?
No.
Are you entering this plea of your own free will and free choice?
Yes.
You understand that if I accept this guilty plea, you're giving up the right to later claim that the plea was the result of any promises, threats, or inducements that you don't tell me about today.
Yes.
You understand that by entering this plea, you're giving up the right to appeal any appealable issues you would have if you went to trial and you were convicted.
Yes.
You understand that you're giving up the right to appeal this conviction, and if you wish to file an appeal, it would be by application for leave to appeal in the Court of Appeals.
Yes.
You understand that if you're on probation or parole, a conviction in this case may subject you to additional penalties in that case.
Yes.
You understand that I'm not bound by this plea agreement, but if I don't go along with it, you can withdraw your plea.
Yes.
You now give up your right to have a trial of any kind and all the constitutional rights that you would have at trial and affirm your guilty plea.
Yes.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty or for some other reason?
No. Because I am. I mean, it was, a mistake in my life when I was at the lowest of my life. And, I got to take responsibility for it so I can get over it and try to get back on track and get my daughter back, and make a life for her.
All right. So is it true then that back on July 27, 2019, that you were in Everett Township, Nuevo County, state of Michigan?
Yeah.
And where were you in Everett Township?
On 8th Street.
All right. And do you know the individual that I listed in the information? Do you know that person?
Yeah.
And how do you know that person?
Family member.
All right. And how old was that individual?
I think 11 or 12. I'm not sure.
All right. Now, why don't you tell me what you did to make you guilty of this crime?
I took a picture I shouldn't have. Like I told John I wasn't myself. I was drinking a lot and doing other things, and it was the low point in my life after I lost my fiance and then my grandmother, and I wasn't myself.
All right. So you took a picture of this 11 or 12-year-old. Was this person clothed or unclothed?
Unclothed.
And then, did you do anything with that photograph, or did you just take it and keep it for yourself?
I took it and then I thought I deleted it and I guess I didn't.
How did you end up getting caught in this case?
Lost my phone on the river and I gave it to my cousin to get repaired, and I guess they went through it.
Okay, all right. Are the attorneys aware of any promises, threats, or inducements which have not been stated on the record?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Is the defendant competent to enter this plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Has the court complied with MCR 6.302?
You have, Your
Yes,
Honor.
Your Honor.
If the court does accept the plea, I do find it to be knowing, understanding, voluntary, and accurate. I agree to be bound by the terms unless the pre-sentence report reveals something I'm not aware of. I'm going to refer you to probation parole for the preparation of the pre-sentence investigation report. We'll set your sentencing for November 9th at 3:45. Mr. Zirip from the probation department needs to gather some information from you to work on that pre-sentence report.
Mr. King, my name is Bill. I'm from the probation office. I need to know your phone number.
616-410-2478.
2478.
Yes,
And what city do you live in?
Grant.
Okay, I need to meet with you at my office tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. My office is at the Department of Human Services, which is right across the parking lot from the courthouse. Okay, and I'll be out front there. I'll meet you there at 9:30 a.m. tomorrow morning.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, that's all for today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sean. I'm gonna. Have Teresa Green at 2:55, so I'm gonna have to read her PSI. Teresa Green. Signers. All right, I'm gonna take off, I'll be back. I got an updated one on that case, John, did you? On her? Yeah, I got it, thanks. Yes, sir.
Do you know if his attorney was
Thanks.
supposed to appear by Zoom or was he here? Someone said.
Here's what I.
Counts, but I don't know. Is there anybody in the room?
There's
We're
a
also
John-
live streaming,
There's
so.
a John Doe.
I'll check the hallway, Your Honor.
So should I admit him and then?
Yeah, stop the live streaming.
All right, I'll just do it.
It's not John.
I think it's right.